I can't go a week without talking to Ross Tucker. I can't end my week without talking to Ross Tucker. It's a Meet Friday. Ross Tucker, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. You can follow him on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. He's in the booth for the Jets and the Jags. Sunday kickoff at 1 Eastern on CBS. Okay, sell me on this matchup here, Ross.
Well, first of all, welcome to my lovely hotel room in Jacksonville, Florida. I'm about to go to production meetings. And Dan, I don't know what they're doing these days, but the desk is so small, I can't put the microphone on the desk. So I'm holding it here like I'm a Bob Barker or something.
It looks like you're doing stand-up here.
like Fritzy maybe. I'll sell you on the matchup. I got two things for you. Number one is the Jacksonville Jaguars are good. The Jacksonville Jaguars are legitimately good. And in fact, they're first place in the AFC South, but nobody's talking about them. I mean, everybody's talking about the Texans and their defense and all these games they've won in a row, and everyone's talking about Phillip Rivers and the Colts. The Jaguars are just down here in Northeast Florida, just winning games, winning a bunch of games in a row, playing really well on both sides of the ball. They got a great chance to win double-digit games for the first time since 2017. They have a legit good squad. So that's number one, and they took it to the Colts last week. From the Jets' perspective, man, it was bad last week against the Dolphins. It looks like Brady Cook, the undrafted rookie free agent, is going to get his first NFL start, which I love, Dan. I love, there's not that many people in the history of the world that can say they started an NFL game. I like he's getting this opportunity. Who knows? Maybe he's awesome. Maybe he plays great. For my sake, calling the game, I hope he plays great. I'm looking forward to meeting him tomorrow.
Okay. Are you looking forward to that more than you are Phillip Rivers maybe playing against Seattle?
Yes, because that's the game I'm doing for CBS.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. But no, like everybody else, fascinated by the Phillip Rivers thing. A lot of teams, Dan, over the years have reached out to me to come out of retirement, but I just didn't think it was fair to my wife and daughters to reset my Hall of Fame clock. I mean, they've been waiting 17 years already. And so for me to come out of retirement at 46 and have to make them wait 5 more years
You're right.
for me to be eligible. I mean, 22 years is asking a lot of my family and friends to wait for my Hall of Fame induction.
Wow. That's what makes you Father of the Year. Unbelievable. Why do offensive linemen go sleeveless in cold weather?
It's a mindset thing. It's a mentality thing. Sleeves are soft. There's no other way around it. You are sending a message to the other team that you are soft, that you're not tough enough if you wear sleeves. I played in Buffalo a bunch of games, played New England a little bit. You absolutely, positively cannot wear sleeves. Plus, by the way, it does give them something to grab. And if you're really that worried about the cold, you can put a thin layer of Vaseline on your skin, which, by the way, does help protect your skin. Ironically, Dan, this is the truth, okay? The coldest game I ever played, and I believe it's one of the 5 coldest games in Bills history. You're going to appreciate this. It was at Cincinnati. It was at the Bengals. It was 2004. Look it up. I had no idea it got that cold in Cincinnati. I come out before the game, and Chad Ochocinco is like, hey, buddy, you better put a long sleeve shirt on, because I was sleeveless. It was freezing. Here's how cold it was, Dan. After the game, you couldn't take a hot shower to start because it stung your wind-burnt skin that bad. You started with a cold shower, then you worked your way up to like lukewarm, and then you got to a little bit warm. Otherwise, I don't understand the science, but the hot water on your frostbit, wind-burnt skin, it was like it would sting unbelievably painfully.
My takeaway from that story is Ochocinco didn't know your name.
That's probably factual. Yeah. Yes. Do you think Ochocinco knew a lot of the starting left guards?
No.
Hey, guess what, Ochocinco? We won, you lost. Yeah. So maybe you should have known my name.
Didn't you know that the coldest game in NFL history?
I know. Chargers playoff game, Dan Fouts. I know.
Okay.
But I still wasn't thinking that. When you come down from Buffalo Cincinnati is like Northern Kentucky. I mean, Cincinnati, like people have a fake Southern accent, some of them.
Okay, but is Buffalo really cold, or does Buffalo just have a lot of snow?
Both. And Buffalo has a lot of wind. There was a game, Dan, I'm not kidding you, where our kicker was Ryan Lindell, and I'm on the field goal extra point team. And let's say it was like a 38-yarder. He kicked the ball. It probably got to like the goal line, and then there was a huge gust of wind. It blew back like a boomerang and landed 3 feet from my feet. And the refs were still underneath the goalpost going, no good. Like, yeah, no kidding, buddy. It almost hit me. No kidding, it was no good.
How do you explain the Tampa Bay Buccaneers?
Wow. That was rough. I've never seen so many things that happened last night. A team had 19 penalties and they won the game. The Bucs are up by 2 touchdowns late. It feels like they're finally going to break out of this funk. It makes these two matchups.
And 3 of the penalties were declined. I think the NFL record is 23 penalties. So they were called for 22, but 3 of them declined.
Unbelievable. And then Kyle Pitts, who hasn't done this in years, they have no Drake London. Kyle Pitts, all of a sudden, the guy you should be most worried about, I guess, he comes out, lights him up. Kirk Cousins, for some reason, has Todd Bowles' number. Just a devastating loss for the Bucs. The only saving grace, and it doesn't make them feel better about it right now, but they play the Panthers 2 out of the last 3 weeks. If they beat the Panthers head-to-head in both those games, they're still going to win the division, and last night, I guess, becomes irrelevant.
Yeah, but is there a bigger picture here that maybe you do sneak in because it's the NFC South? But, moving forward, how long is Mike Evans going to be able to play? Is Todd Bowles' job safe even if you make the playoffs?
Well, people are going to ask that anytime there's a collapse like this. And I think big picture, it's hard to picture the Bucs having any chance whatsoever in the playoffs. I would have said earlier in the season, hey, Dan, they got Baker. They got those receivers. They got a puncher's chance. They can win shootouts. They're not really playing that way. Baker's not playing as well as he did earlier in the year. Even as they're getting guys back to health, they don't look quite the same on the offensive side of the ball. And they're light years worse than like the Rams and Seahawks. I mean, to me, those are easily the 2 best teams in the NFL right now. And it's right now hard to picture anybody from the NFC, knocking those 2 teams off. I guess the Eagles have the talent to do it, but certainly they're going to have to play a lot better than they have been to have a chance against those 2 teams.
Talking to Ross Tucker, the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, and he'll be in the booth for the Jets and Jags. That'll be Sunday on CBS at 1 Eastern. The finger pointing, maybe it's time to sit down Jalen Hurts, and still not sure. Was that a fair question to ask Nick Sirianni? Have you thought about benching Jalen Hurts?
I think it is a fair question to ask, and I think it's fair to answer it the way Sirianni did. The thing about Philadelphia is there's not only a very high standard, but there's a track record of backup quarterbacks playing really well. The first time they ever won a Super Bowl was their backup quarterback. Now, that was because Carson Wentz got hurt, but Nick Foles went in there and led them to the Super Bowl. So I think there are going to be people there that have said, okay, it's been 4 or 5 games now for Hurts where he hasn't played well. Tanner McKee has lit it up every time he's gotten an opportunity. This is the window for the Eagles. This is where they have the great receivers, the great tight end, the great running back, the awesome defense, the offensive line. This is the window, and maybe McKee gives them a better chance to win. I don't believe that. I highly doubt they would bench Jalen Hurts for a million different reasons. But I do think, if Hurts has 2 more games in a row where he has 5 turnovers, then it might be a more legitimate question. I don't think that's going to happen. He typically doesn't turn it over. And I had a much different takeaway, Dan, from that game Monday night than everybody else. I mean, Hurts had 5 turnovers. A.J. Brown had 2 or 3 drops. They had a couple of devastating penalties. One took a touchdown off the board. Jake Elliott misses a 48-yard field goal. If any one of those things doesn't happen, they still win the game. So they would have won a game at the LA Chargers, a good team, with the quarterback having 4 turnovers. They moved it better. Hurts threw for 240, could have been 300. Saquon ran for 120. I actually came away from that game better than I did against the Bears and the Cowboys when for 6 quarters, they couldn't do anything offensively. Turnovers are high variance. They're not going to happen all the time. Just not being able to move the ball at all because you can't do anything on offense, that would be more concerning to me than sort of a fluke game where the quarterback has a bunch of turnovers.
More important game, Lions, Rams, Packers, Broncos, Patriots, Bills.
So the most important of those 3 games in terms of a team making the playoffs is Lions, Rams. The Lions really need to win that game to make the playoffs and have a chance. I think in terms of the Super Bowl, I'll say probably the Patriots and the Bills. If the Patriots win that, man, they got a great chance to be the number 1 seed, 2 home games in New England. And I'll tell you the difference in my mind, Dan, between the Broncos and the Patriots. The Broncos are a good team, winning close games, really good defense. The Patriots have an MVP caliber quarterback. He hasn't done it in the postseason yet, but if you're talking about winning big games in the postseason, I don't have a lot of doubt about Drake May right now. And I think they would be the favorite in my mind. If they're the number 1 seed, for just Drake May to play well in 2 home playoff games, go to the Super Bowl. Now, if they lose this one to the Bills, then it's going to be a battle just to win the AFC East. And that's going to leave some doubt about whether or not Drake May and the Patriots are ready to beat these type of teams in the postseason.
Well, Vegas is already saying that they doubt the Patriots and they doubt the Broncos. Yeah. Because Buffalo road team favored, Packers road team favored.
And I think so much of that is just the quarterback, and because the Broncos and Patriots have no recent playoff pedigree. I always wonder about stuff like that, Dan, is like how much of that is the pros, the guys like Steve Fezzik on my Even Money Betting podcast, and how much of that is just the public saying, I don't care what, I'm taking Jordan Love and the Packers over Bo Nix and the Broncos, or I don't care what their record is, I'm taking Josh Allen and the Bills over Drake May. I think if you look at it, people talk about public and non-public teams. When I look at the betting line, a lot of times it feels like people are just betting on quarterbacks. I mean, the Chiefs are, last I checked, 5.5-point favorites over the Chargers. Despite all evidence to the contrary, people are still going to put the money on Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs.
I would too. But you're right. There's only a couple of quarterbacks. And speaking of quarterbacks, Joe Burrow got dark on Wednesday with that press conference and what he was saying. And I brought it up in the moment. It felt like you get to that Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck was 29. Joe Burrow just turned 29. And all of a sudden, what you've done for most of your life, you're not enjoying anymore. And do I want to continue to do this and all the injuries and the rehab and, not being in big games anymore? What do you take away from that? In the moment, something or something larger?
Multiple things, I would say. Number one is Joe Burrow has always struck me as a guy that absolutely loves football. Like loves it. So it's a little bit startling to hear him talk like that. And I would say unexpected. I will say it's rehabbing is not fun and losing is not fun. So I do think that there's a point where you say, okay, I'm getting the crap beat out of me. I've already made plenty of money. We're losing. I don't want to have injuries that really adversely affect the rest of my life. Those are all possibilities, Dan. I tend to think that Burrow would want to go somewhere else or force his way out of Cincinnati before he would retire. Now, that's a tough organization to force your way out of. Obviously, we've seen it happen before with Carson Palmer, and maybe he's just mentally beat down. But I think the Andrew Luck thing was more of this physical and mental exhaustion. I don't get the sense that Burrow's there yet. I think he'd probably rather go somewhere else and see what it's like somewhere else before he would hang him up.
He loves football because he came back, he rehabbed to get back to this point in the season. I mean, that tells you an awful lot about him. But then that, contrast that with the way he sounded on Wednesday. That sounded like somebody who was beaten and broken. And, if they win that game against Buffalo, is he having fun still? It was, you throw two interceptions and you lose in Buffalo, and what am I doing here?
Every aspect of it was strange. Maybe he was just having a bad day. I mean, someone asked if it was team-related or personal. He said all the above. You never know what's going on with guys, behind the scenes or personal or whatever. It's hard to extrapolate too much from it unless he actually spells it out. And maybe there will be reports after the season that he's unhappy, looking to move. It's funny because one of the first things I read prepping for, this game on Sunday was the Jets should do whatever they can to call the Bengals and try to trade for Joe Burrow, And by the way, they absolutely should. I mean, they should call the Bengals and say, hey, is he really that unhappy?
Wait a minute. Joe Burrow feels bad enough. That's not fair. And you can't go, hey, I got good news. We're going to send you to the Jets. Do you love football now a little bit more?
Hey, maybe he could be the one to break this playoff streak for the Jets.
He'll be in the booth for the Jets and Jags. Make sure you tune in early because we want to see you when you welcome us into the game, right? You get your camera time?
That's a terrific point, Dan. For 1 o'clock games, we do our on-camera open at 12:53.
Yep.
And then there's like a commercial. And then, so I know everybody right now is putting the note in their phone at 1 o'clock to see me on TV. Put it in for 12:50. My mom and or wife are devastated when they forget about that. They literally, Dan, only watch the first 2 minutes of the game to see me on camera. You did a great job. The game didn't start yet.
That's all I'm going to be watching as well, just to let you know.
Listen, I need to talk to the folks at CBS and the analytics folks. I'm thinking that the ratings for that 2 minutes when I'm on camera,
big.
12:53 to 12:55. I mean, that's probably why they put me on the New York market this week.
Yeah, you're meat candy. I mean, you're there. Everybody wants to see you. Thanks for joining us, bud. Have a great weekend.
Of course, man. See ya.
That's Ross Tucker, one of my favorite guests. Ross Tucker Football Podcast in the booth for the Jets. Jags, 1 Eastern on CBS.